The forest had always provided. It was the heart of the land, and for generations, the tribes lived peacefully, respecting its bounty. The Iroquois, Algonquin, and Abenaki were among many who made their homes in the northeastern woodlands. Each year brought seasons of hunting, planting, and harvest, a rhythm of life guided by elders and nurtured by tradition. Nature was their companion, and they took only what they needed, thanking the earth for every hunt, every harvest, every season of plenty. When the settlers arrived, the tribes welcomed them. The Europeans were strange, yes, but they were guests, and kindness was in their nature. They showed the newcomers how to hunt, how to plant maize and beans, and how to withstand the northern winters. Together, they weathered the challenges of the land. But as the seasons turned and more settlers arrived, what was once a partnership turned into a bitter struggle for survival. The settlers' appetites knew no bounds. What had once been a sharing of knowledge became a flood of demands. Villages were taken, forests cut down, and the land scarred with an endless hunger for more. To the tribes, it was as if an unseen sickness had come upon the land, and they watched as their people were driven deeper into the forest, farther from the places they had once called home. But there were old stories, ones told only in whispers around the fires of the longest nights. Stories of a creature that lurked in the deepest woods, bound to the land by an insatiable hunger. A creature as much spirit as flesh, feared even by the wildest animals. A creature that could take on the form of a deer, mimic voices, and track its prey by scent alone. The wendigo. The elders met in secret. A last desperate council held in the forest. Their options were gone. They had no weapons to match the settlers' guns, no men to withstand their numbers. The once powerful warriors had been reduced to scattered bands, forced into hiding. The council made their decision on a cold autumn night, breathing in the biting air as they prayed for guidance. They would summon the wendigo. With chants and offerings of blood and bone, they called to the spirit of the forest, hoping it would heed them, hoping it would take pity on them. They waited in silence, listening to the shifting trees and the stirring winds, until, just beyond the flickering firelight, shadows began to move. It came forth, a twisted figure with gaunt limbs, hollow eyes, and the antlers of a stag crowning its skeletal head. Its bones jutted against its gray, ashen skin, stretched so tightly that every sharp edge and jagged rib seemed ready to pierce through. The air around it grew colder still, and its breath was a shiver of frost, a reminder of death's bite in the depths of winter.
We are here. We call upon you to defend our people, to reclaim our land.
The wendigo's eyes glinted, reflecting hunger and the spark of understanding. It did not speak. It merely nodded, the antlers tilting, as if savoring the promise of flesh. And then it melted into the forest, vanishing with a speed that seemed impossible for something so gaunt and broken. The wendigo had accepted their call. Winter set in, a season crueler than any remembered. Settlers began to disappear from their camps, dragged into the woods, their screams silenced quickly. Bodies were found with deep claw marks and eyes wide in terror, twisted limbs scattered like discarded game. Some bodies bore no wounds, just faces frozen in horror, as if they had seen a nightmare before their death. Whispers spread through the settlement of a beast with antlers and hollow eyes. A creature that moved faster than any man and left behind no trail but frozen blood. Hunters set out to find it, but none returned. Rumors became a terrifying certainty. A wendigo prowled the forest, hunting anyone who dared to trespass. The settlers grew desperate. What began as fear turned to fury, and they formed hunting parties, armed with silver bullets and flaming torches. But even in groups, they were no match for the wendigo's ferocity. It slipped through the trees unseen, picking them off one by one. The settlers tried to fortify their camps, but the wendigo could mimic voices, calling out with the cries of their loved ones, luring them away. Weeks passed, and the settlers grew frantic, consumed by a deep, gnawing fear. They took out their frustration on the remaining tribes, blaming them for the curse, for the horror that had taken root in the woods. More blood was shed, feeding the wendigo's hunger. The elders watched in horror as the creature they had summoned became something more monstrous. no longer hunting just the settlers, but turning its fury upon the land itself, tearing through deer, bear, and fox alike. The forest, once so full of life, began to fall silent under its relentless hunger. The tribes fled deeper into the wilderness hunger. The tribes fled deeper into the wilderness, their alliance with the wendigo now a twisted burden. They had called upon a spirit of vengeance, and it had answered with a hunger that could not be controlled. The wendigo did not recognize friend from foe, did not understand the line between human and beast. It was beyond their control, a force of nature turned savage, lost to its own need to consume.